Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca, and I wanted to share all the delicious food I ate in Matosinhos while I was walking my Camino Portugues. I'm a solo traveler and I'm used to dining alone, but I understand it can be awkward for some. I like it because I can usually squeeze in at a small table or at the bar without a reservation. I arrived in town for a late lunch, and then I had drinks and dinner, and then a quick breakfast before I headed out the next morning. I love to explore local cuisine, and I'm probably not going to win the calorie war on this trip despite the fact I'm literally walking across the country. First, for lunch, I visited Ojinos do Povo. It's right along the coastal Camino route if you wanted to continue walking in the afternoon. They recommend reservations, but I was a party of one late in the lunch hours on a Saturday afternoon, and they were able to squeeze me in. They offered a fixed-price, multi-course meal. In September of 2023, it was €15. Included an appetizer of seafood spread, a choice of a number of entrees, a choice of your dessert, wine, and coffee. And the wine was literally an entire bottle of wine, and I had the white. It was really light and made from a number of Portuguese varietals that I had never tried. I thought to myself, well, I could probably finish it if I sit here long enough, but what will everyone around me think if I drink an entire bottle of wine? But don't you know that almost every person in there also finished their bottles, so now I don't feel so bad. I'm just doing what the locals do, right? I had the fried octopus with octopus rice and the almond pie for dessert. Lunch was served at a pretty leisurely pace and absolutely delicious. The octopus was really tender and the dessert was just right and not too sweet. So after lunch, I headed to my hotel to do laundry, then shower and nap. And then as the sun started to set, I headed out for a beer and dinner. I love craft beer, and I even once actually owned a craft beer bar, so I like to try any local offerings whenever I get a chance. Conveniently, there was a craft beer bar called the Hop Trip Craft Beer Shop right next to the restaurant I'd selected for dinner. They had 15 taps and a number of cans and bottles from all over the world, and I tried a small glass of one of the beers from Portugal. About the time I finished the beer, the restaurant opened for dinner. Dinners are much later in Europe than in the United States, often starting sometime between 8 and 10 p.m. I prefer dining late because I'm a night owl, but if you're used to eating at 5:30 every night, it will definitely be an adjustment. I tried temperos de zezinha because I had read a lot about seafood rice dishes in Portugal, and most of the restaurants only serve it in pots meant to be shared with 2 or more people. And this restaurant had half portions on their menu, so it was a perfect time to try it before I got to the smaller towns where I wouldn't have that option. I chose to sit outside because it was a nice night and because the inside looked fancy, and as a pilgrim on the Camino, I had a serious lack of fancy clothes in my backpack. Here I chose just to drink a large bottle of water. I did have an entire bottle of wine and a beer earlier, and I started with olives and bread, and then had a crisp green salad. There don't seem to be nearly as many vegetables served here as I'm used to eating, so I wanted to take advantage when I could. My main was shrimp and monkfish with rice in a really flavorful broth. Now I know why these dishes are famous. It was so well seasoned and actually pretty light. I passed on dessert, but then they brought me homemade blueberry liqueur to end the meal, so there was no way I was going to pass that up. It was the perfect way to end my first day of walking and exploring Portugal. In the morning I set out for Vila do Conde and just wanted to get walking, so I stopped for my first breakfast at a pastry shop right around the corner by my hotel for a sweet roll and espresso to get me properly caffeinated. And spoiler alert, there's almost always going to be a second breakfast. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button, or even better, the subscribe button. I hope you'll join me for my next stage of my Camino, and help me check out all the delicious food along the way. Until then, bom dia!